Hello and welcome. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Mike, and this video is another installment in the series of videos that I have rather unoriginally called Philosophy 101. So in the last video, we explored the debate between rationalism and empiricism. So today we're going to move that discussion forward by examining Immanuel Kant, one of the most influential figures in philosophy, well, certainly in modern philosophy. And Kant sought to synthesize these two perspectives, the rationalist and empiricist perspectives. Kant's critical philosophy fundamentally reshaped how we think about knowledge, morality, and reality. So today's agenda is relatively straightforward. So we will start with Kant's project, i.e. bridging the gap between empiricism and rationalism. And then we will look at the Copernican Revolution in philosophy. And after that, we will explore the distinction between phenomena and noumena. And finally, we will examine Kant's moral philosophy, or what he called the categorical imperative. Kant lived during a time when rationalism and empiricism were seen as like opposing schools of thought. The rationalists emphasized reason and innate ideas, while the empiricists focused on sensory experience. Kant believed both were partially correct, but essentially were incomplete theories. So there's a couple of questions that Kant had. How is knowledge possible? And are there limits to human understanding? And he actually had some proposals that he put forward. So the first of those is that knowledge arises from the interplay of sensory experience, a posteriori, sorry, I always mispronounce that, a posteriori, sensory experience, and the innate structures of the mind, a priori. So that interplay between that a posteriori, the sensory experience, and the innate structures of the mind, a priori, come together, and that's how we acquire knowledge, and that's how knowledge is formed. And the other proposal is that the mind actively shapes our experience of the world. Kant argued that our minds aren't passive recorders of experience. Instead, they impose order on sensory data using innate categories like causality and time. Think about your experience of time. Do you think time exists independently of us, or is it a framework our minds impose upon the world? And this is something I want you to think quite deeply about, and I want you to attempt to answer this in the comments, in a sentence or two, a paragraph or two, whatever it takes. But don't labour on the point for too long. We're not looking for an essay or a 10,000 word dissertation at this point. Just a few sentences to articulate your position on the matter of whether you think time exists independently of us, or if it is just a framework that our minds impose on the world. So pause the video, go to the comment section, and fire away and get that recorded and written down. And I will be here upon your return. So Kant described his philosophy as a Copernican revolution. So just as Copernicus argued that the Earth revolved around the sun, Kant argued that objects conform to the mind rather than the mind conforming to objects. So we have what we call the Copernican turn. So the traditional view is that the mind reflects the external world, whereas Kant's view is that the mind structures our experiences of the external world. As an example, when you perceive an apple, you experience it as red, round, and solid, or maybe green, round, and solid, depending on what type of apple, right? But these qualities are not out there, so to speak. They are how our mind processes that sensory data. So I want you to bear that in mind, that example in mind, because I've got an activity for you. And this is something I want you to answer in the what's the word I'm looking for? The comments. Answer in the comments. So consider a rainbow. Is a rainbow a real thing? Or is it simply how light interacts with our perception? I want you to share your thoughts on this in the comments. So pause the video and get your thoughts down into the comments section, and then when you come back we will look at the idea, the distinction rather between phenomena and noumena. So, did you do it? Excellent. I look forward to reading that. So, phenomena and noumena, the distinction. A central idea in Kant's philosophy is the distinction between phenomena and noumena. So, at this point, it's probably worth sort of defining phenomena and noumena. So, phenomena is the world as we experience, shaped by our mind's categories. And noumena is the world as it is in itself, beyond human perception. According to Kant, we can only know the phenomenal world, the world as it appears to us or appears to consciousness. The nominal world, or the thing in itself, is beyond our comprehension. Imagine trying to describe colour to someone who's been blind since birth. And this is a classical sort of thought experiment that's used to really highlight this. But could that person, that blind person, ever truly understand what colour is? I want you to think about that. Because it's similar in the way that Kant argues that we can never truly know the nominal world. It's an interesting thought, right? So imagine yourself describing colour to someone who's blind since birth. How would you even do that? How would you translate the sensory input, the visual input, into something that makes sense to somebody who is devoid of any visual input? That in itself is incredibly difficult. But does that translate into an understanding of colour as you see it, as you perceive it, from being able to actually see it? So Kant believed that this limitation is both humbling and liberating. So while we can't know like ultimate reality, we can understand the conditions that make knowledge possible. So I have an activity for you. I want you to jump in the comments with your answers, your responses to this. Do you find it frustrating or comforting that we can never truly know or never fully know the world as it is? And why? As I say, Kant believed that the this limitation, this sort of limit, this sort of restriction to only being able to perceive the phenomenal world is, as I said, both humbling and liberating. So bear that in mind and answer that question. Do you find it frustrating or comforting that we can never fully know the world as it is, and why? So pause the video, and when you come back, we're going to explore the categorical imperative. So you're back. Excellent. Kant's influence extends beyond epistemology all the way into the decidedly murky waters of ethics. He believed that morality is grounded in reason and, as a result, is universal, applying to all rational beings. So the categorical imperative has two principles at its core. The universality principle, i.e., act only according to that maxim whereby you can at the same time will that it should become a universal law. That's how Kant put it, right? What a horrendous mouthful. But basically what he meant is that maxim has to be applicable to everybody. It has to be repeatable. It can't be specific to you or your situation. So the action has to be, if it's right for you, it's right for everybody. Well, the maxim, if it's right for you, is right for everybody, essentially. So the principle has to be universal, or it's not really a moral principle, right? And the other principle is the humanity principle, which is to treat humanity, whether in yourself or others, always as an end and never merely as a means. And we see this principle in all manner of things. We see it in the justice system and legal system. We see it in things like human rights declarations and so on. So it's an incredibly, this humanity principle is it permeates through many ideas and many principles, many sort of situations and like what's the word, cultures and so on and so forth, societies and whatever. So let's try and imagine an example. So let's apply the categorical imperative to lying. Kant argues that lying is always wrong because if everyone lied, trust would break down and communication would become meaningless. So what I want you to do is imagine a scenario where lying could save someone's life. Would you follow Kant's rule, or would you make an exception, and why? You can if you want to, and I would very much appreciate it if you did. You can if you want to post this in the comments. It would be helpful to you because it will help you articulate your ideas, but it will be incredibly helpful to others who are perhaps not yet quite able to articulate their perspective just yet. So jump in the comments with that. So imagine a scenario where lying could save a life. Would you follow Kant's rule, which is lying's bad, don't do it, essentially? Or would you make an exception, and why? Kant's deontological ethics contrasts sharply with utilitarianism. Where utilitarianism focuses on outcomes, Kant focuses on principles. Even if lying saves lives, it violates a universal moral rule. So I want you to do, at this point, a bit of role play. So if you're alone you'll have to play both parts, but if you are lucky enough to have a partner with you, then that's fantastic. Another way you could do it is to engage someone in the comments and hopefully get a discussion going that way. Whatever way you do it, it doesn't really matter. But it would be good if you could post the results in the comments. So what I want you to do is in your pairs, if you can muster that up, if not, yourself as a pair. One person argues for Kantian ethics in a moral dilemma, and the other person argues for utilitarianism in that same moral dilemma. I want you to create a dialogue. It doesn't have to be, we're not looking for, the next sort of Plato's Republic here. Just short and sweet is fine, but we're looking for a dialogue between these two parties to argue the case for Kantian ethics in the moral dilemma and the case for utilitarianism. So pause the video and do that, and then come back when you're done, and we can wrap up. So you're back again. Brilliant. So we are coming to the end now. So we've looked at the ideas of Immanuel Kant, the what's the word I'm looking for? The categorical imperative and so on. And as we have seen, Kant's critical philosophy bridges rationalism and empiricism, which redefines how we think about knowledge and reality and morality. By emphasizing the limits of human understanding, he encourages humility. And by grounding ethics in reason, he provides a framework for universal morality. So before we part ways, the final activity is that I want you to write a short paragraph answering this question. Do you agree with Kant that morality should be based on universal rules, even if it leads to difficult consequences? Why or why not? So write a paragraph, maybe a couple, but don't go wild. As I always say, we're not looking for a 10,000 word dissertation on this, just a paragraph or two to get the core of your perspective out there. Excuse me. So go do that. You can pause the video, or you can wait until the end because we're pretty much done now. Either is fine, but make sure you get in the comments with that one. So write your paragraph answering the question of whether you agree with Kant that morality should be based on universal rules, even if it leads to difficult consequences, and the why or why not of your agreement. So in the next one, we are going to have another look at utilitarianism, but we're going to look at it in greater depth than we did the first time around a few videos ago. So I look forward to seeing you there. And if you haven't done so already, please like and subscribe. So like the video, subscribe to the channel. This means that YouTube will show you obviously more of my content, but they will show you content by other creators that are talking about similar things, which will help you to widen your perspective and deepen your knowledge. So it's of benefit to us all, in my opinion. So yeah, if you could do that, that would be wonderful. But regardless of that, thank you very much for allowing me to basically insert myself into your quest for knowledge and understanding. It is an honor to be allowed to be part of that. So thank you very much. I do really appreciate it. And if you have any questions, just jump in the comments and ask, and I will do my very best to answer them. So yeah, as I said, we're going to look at utilitarianism in a bit more depth and detail in the next one. So look out for that one, and I hope to see you there. Thank you very much, and goodbye.